Okay, Chucklehead. One of you in the comments tried to tell me relative to what when I was regarding a speed through space compared to other objects in space. So I already gave the answer. However, we have this beautiful little Let's Play of Mario Maker 2, and we have this.
Ever walk through an airport with one of those moving walkways? I don't know about you, but I love those things. I feel like the $6 million man zooming through the terminal while barely walking. And honestly, that's compared to what? Depending on 550 miles per hour through the air plus a 50 mile per hour tailwind gives 600 miles per hour over the ground. A 50 mile per hour, and you get you relative to the Earth's center. So here's a concrete example.
So here's the thing, right? You have this, and of course, I understand this perfectly. So, or I understand this in principle, in spirit, in general, and with the information provided empirically. However, the point is, and I do love this video because it does mention, oh, flat earthers are going to hate this video, but forget about that. The point is,
To the Earth's center, you're doing about 1,300 miles per hour. Fly west instead, and you subtract from that 700, so your around the Earth speed can be smaller even though nothing about your experience changed. That's the whole lesson. Whenever you hear a speed, your brain should automatically whisper the missing words compared to what?
so when I reference what exactly that I am working on, you don't have to tell me compared to what because I already said it. So when I say the atomic clock and the rotating inside the plane going at what is measured as a regular speed for them, and then also them compared to rotation of the Earth, and the atomic clock, its speed through all of this is all of that added up or mathed together, and then the light speed compared to the atomic clock's actual travel through space, which at some point, if you ran the experiment for a certain, a month or something, you'd probably have to also take into consideration the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. But we don't do that in this because it's a shorter time frame. So we consider only the rotation of the Earth. This is important.
The seat relative to the plane relative to the air relative to the ground, and the ground relative to the Earth's center.
I made this exact same understanding about it when I was talking about my atomic clock analysis. And the thing about that is that the atomic clock is moving at a regular speed, right? So depending on which direction it's going, that speed is clocked at this amount, and in the other direction, it's clocked at the other amount. So we have the exact same idea of what's happening. The other thing to consider is how much light is able to bounce in an atomic clock going at what speed. This is the only factor that I don't have, but I know that it would be different in one direction versus the other because of the amount of total speed that is really how you compare anything to light, because light is a total speed. It doesn't have any comparison to anything else because it just simply moves relative to everything, all of the speed. Just forget about it. You have to compare the speed of light compared to empty space and the one object that's also moving through space and its rotation and everything else. Once you have your proper frame of reference, which there is only one in regards to light, then you know how fast it's moving. You know how fast the atomic clock is moving, and then you know how fast the bounces are supposed to be and how they would change. Well, you would already know how fast all of that is, and you can calculate how fast the atomic clock bounces can be at a certain speed and will be at a other speed, because when you lower the speed, the direction of the object that you're moving towards as it's moving westwardly, and the light moving westwardly, is a different ratio than the amount that it's moving in the opposite direction, the back bounce. So why is that? Because the comparison of an object moving towards versus away from the direction of the speed of light, or the direction of the light, is a different ratio compared to the speed of light. I've already done this math 3 times on this channel. So you can then understand it has to be that it's faster in one direction, slower in another direction, and then you can calculate how much distance the entire atomic clock trike thing traveled, all of it, and then you can calculate how many bounces you should expect for the light in the atomic clock based on its speed over time and the atomic clock's speed over time in both scenarios of the one direction versus the other direction, or I should say added total speed or the rotation of the Earth and the plane and everything, and negated against the rotation of the Earth's speed and everything. And then the difference between the two of those is those 200-ish nanoseconds that we registered in one direction positive and a different number in the negative in the other direction. Meaning that the number of bounces, unless it is higher than the calculated amount, which is what I think they're claiming it is, they would have to really show all of those numbers genuinely, or the entire proper set, and then the calculated amount of time dilation, or the amount of bounce translated into time interval measured, which it means the clocks are faulty. But if time dilation also exists, you would see an extra amount added to the amount of faultiness, you know? It has to go beyond the clock's failure into an extended range. And I've yet to do this math properly 100% through to completion, and I'm sorry about that, and I'll get on that. But I am still convinced the math didn't consider everything fully somehow, even though they are supposed to be really good at their job and everything. And I do find that to be insulting, I know. But it doesn't matter how insulting it is. It matters whether or not they actually considered everything properly. And it matters if that means time dilation is real, or if that nuance that they might have missed, which is easy to miss, can be reevaluated. And now we have a proper understanding about how the atomic clocks work with regard to a moving object and the speed of light being constant, so it has to bounce differently. Also, the orientation of the light itself means an extra layer of, if you're moving the light in the same direction as travel, right, parallel to travel, then you have a simple equation for this, which can be understood. It's a basic relationship. Once you start going the light up and down, you have to add Pythagorean into it, and it changes the whole thing. So we need to know those details as well to get the proper estimate for time dilation. It's stupid how much detail is required for this junk. But whatever, I'm done. We'll get to it eventually.